Change your image from this to this with one setting. Today we're looking at how we can use the tone curve to completely impact our images. Let's jump into it. When you open up the tone curve, you'll see something that represents sort of like a little mountain range, and you'll see a line that goes from bottom left to top right. The mountain range in the background represents our image. All of the data points, all the colors, all the brightness levels. As I raise something up in the tone curve, it gets brighter. As I bring it down in the tone curve, it gets darker. And so we can add all these different points throughout our tone curve to manipulate our image with very specific parts. A very common way to use the tone curve is creating what's known as an S-curve. We want our tone curve to represent the letter S. We do this by bringing down our highlights a little bit and adding a new tone curve spot to round out the top of our highlights. And then we do the same to our shadows. We raise our shadows up a little bit, and this is known as giving your image a slight fade. And then we round out our shadows again. The more you pull this down, the darker your shadows are going to be, and the greater contrast you'll create in your image. Now the last thing we can do is using our middle point that we've created in our tone curve, we can move it to the left or right, up or down to see where we like our image to land. As you'll see, this has created a drastic difference in the contrast of our image. Now the last thing is just play around until you like where it's landed. Alright, so I've landed on this position. Now you can quickly see if I turn the tone curve off and on, what the tone curve's been able to do to our image. It's drastically increased the contrast. What you'll also note on the tone curve is there's 3 color channels. We have our red channel, our green channel, and our blue channel. This channel impacts the reds and the greens in our image. We can increase the reds by pulling up the tone curve, or we can increase the greens by pulling down the tone curve. Each of the other tone curves works in the same way, but with different colors. So the green tone curve, we can increase for green and decrease for pink. For the blue tone curve, we can increase for blue and decrease for orange. What I like to do on my images to increase the color contrast within my photos is copy the S-curve that I've created on my tone curve to the other color channels. You'll see here that from our before and after, we now have a massive difference in contrast. So that's the tone curve. Hopefully you learned something new about that, and tomorrow we're going to jump into the specific colors and the settings that we can use to change up our image. Catch you then.